Thank you, everyone. This will be the beginning of our third panel this evening. Thank you again to everyone who's come out tonight and all the candidates. I'm Jonathan Van Fleet, the editor of the Concord Monitor. Joining me is Jamie Costa, who covers the city of Concord. And I'll introduce the candidates from left to right. Keith Nyan and Jim Schlosser. Ali Siku. There are two other candidates running in Ward 8 who are not here this evening, who will be appearing on the ballot. Then Ward 9, Andrew Georgievitz and Chris Schultz. And then Ward 10, Jeff Foote and Xander Rice Hawkins. Thank you all for being here. We're going to start with an opening statement. We'd like, because of the number of candidates, this is our largest panel tonight, we'd like to give you a minute for opening statements, and then as we ask questions, you'll have 90 seconds. So we ask you to try and keep things brief, but we won't be shutting off your mics. I think those are the ground rules. All right, let's get started. Keith, please go ahead.
All right, thank you. Can everybody hear me? I know the mic's a little bit off. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Keith Nyan. I am the 18-year incumbent Ward 7 City Councilor. To give you a little bit of background about myself, I am a veteran. I have been married 31 years to my lovely wife. I have 3 children. I'm also a 4th-generation resident of Concord South End. I mention that only to the extent so that you know I'm one of you. My history and roots are in Ward 7. My family and friends still live there. My time on the council has really been marked by being kind of a fiscal watchdog for the city, watching the budget, watching the numbers. The only special interest I have, I'll say, is the taxpayer. It's incumbent upon all of us to keep those taxes down. Beyond that, I've always championed public safety and infrastructure improvements. Why am I running for city council? I made a commitment to Mayor Boulay when he decided not to run that I would do one more term so that I could bring some consistency and uniformity to policy and to really kind of continue the work that's been done. There's going to be a lot of transition here over the next few months. We're going to see a minimum of 4 phases, upward to 11 phases, and it's really incumbent that we try to maintain some consistency once again with policies and things that are working well. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Jim Schlosser, and thank you, Keith, for your service as a veteran and your service to our city. I'm running to stand up for my community values. My name is Jim Schlosser. I'm a physician. I was a clinician and senior leader at the Veterans Health Administration for 19 years. I currently serve on the boards of the Concord Coalition to End Homelessness and the Unitarian Universalist Church of Concord. I'm a New Hampshire Master Gardener and volunteer at the Sycamore Community Garden at NHTI. I am a leader. Besides being a physician, I have an MBA in productivity and statistics, so I've managed multi-million-dollar budgets in public hospitals and Veterans Administration. We as a city have to live within our means. Fiscal management and accountability is nothing new to me. I'm also a trained facilitator. I've trained and deployed team-based improvement efforts in VA medical centers across the entire country. I've learned that bringing people together can generate creative solutions to solve exceedingly complex problems. Compassion and values guide what I do. It was a privilege to serve veterans in the VA. It was rewarding and humbling. Now I'm focused on serving Concord. Thank you.
Thank you, Concord Monitor. Thank you, the Concord High School, and thank you all for attending today. As they opened the statement saying that City Council Ward 8, the only participant, I just want to say one word. I'm the newcomer, but I care. And you will hear it through my statements here. Concord has given me a lot. I was born and raised in a small village in West Africa, Niger. Before coming to the United States, I served the U.S. in the Security Department of the United States Embassy in Niger. So I started my service to the United States of America since I was in Niger, where I gave my life to keep the diplomat and the personnel safe. Service is not new to me. And I want to say here today, I'm honored to run for City Council Ward 8. And as during one of the ceremony for citizenship, the judge said, being American is having responsibilities. And I took those responsibilities very seriously when I landed in this beautiful city, where I decided I want to raise my 2 beautiful children. My wife and I live in the Heights. I don't have time to share all the boards I sit on, but please do visit my website where it's listed. I'm the president of the Islamic Society of Greater Concord, where I meet leaders from the Commissioner of Public Safety to the city leaders, Jim Boulay, Byron Champlain, to discuss about what the city needs. So for me, coming to the city council is just taking my service to the next level, because I believe in public service, and I believe in the fair transparency in public service, and I believe in representation. America is a land of opportunity, as they say. Only in the United States you can be a foreign born and be who you want to be. And I'm here today to say I ask Ward 8, the city of Concord, to vote for a leader that cares, and for a leader that has been investing his time in the city of Concord to make the city of Concord a welcoming, diverse, and a fair and safe for everyone. Some of the leaders are here today. We have been working together where I recommended people to be on many committees, which I will discuss later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alan.
Hello, my name is Andrew Georgievitz. I am a lifelong resident of Concord. Actually went to Concord High here, played in the high school band on this very stage. Went off to college at Arizona State and came back to Concord to raise a family. I've been married to my wife Kelsey for 6 years. We have a 3-year-old son, Elliot. And being active in the community is something I've done my entire life. My birth was planned around the Concord Kiwanis Fair, because my dad is the current president of Kiwanis. And what it comes down to is the city is changing, and it's not the city that I grew up in. I can take an active role a little bit further by stepping up to run for council to work on our property taxes, work on homelessness, work on infrastructure, and continue to make Concord the wonderful city that I continue to grow up in. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Chris Schultz. I have lived in Concord for 16 years. Have been with my now spouse for that whole time, and we're about to have our 10-year anniversary. I'm also curious to know from Mr. Georgievitz, was it so you would be alive by the time of the fair? Or you can answer that later. I thought that was really cute. So really quick, a little bit about me. I'm currently a state rep for wards 9, 10, and 4. I have served now in my 4th term. The biggest issue that I have tackled, and thus far, unfortunately, we haven't succeeded in it, despite its wild popularity, is a raise in the minimum wage. We default to the federal $7.25 an hour, and we're the wealthiest state to do so. I attended college at American University with a bachelor's and all but thesis for sociology master's, and I've worked in the past for 16 years as a political consultant in government and politics, and most recently have been working for nonprofits, predominantly in the interfaith arena. I saw that orange card, sorry about that. And I'm very excited to be here today and to thank all who have put this together. I appreciate it.
Thank you. My name is Jeff Foote. My candidacy for the City Council in Ward 10 is purely altruistic. I'm a lifelong resident of the city and also a 4th-generation person in the city as well, Keith, so we have something in common. I'm also a Concord High School alumnus. I spent some time on this stage, and some time in the gymnasium and a little bit in the principal's office too. So I have a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering. I have a Master's of Public Administration. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Hampshire. My wife and I have resided in East Concord, Ward 10, for over 30 years, where we raised our 3 children. I'm a former DOT engineer and currently the Director of Public Works in Bedford. I've had decades of experience collaborating with residents to advance all sorts of projects, including economic development for the betterment of the community. I believe my education, training, and experience will bring a unique perspective to the City of Concord, to the council that would benefit the City of Concord. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Andrew Rice Hawkins. I'm serving my 3rd term on Concord City Council after first being elected in March of 2019. It's been an honor to serve on City Council for the last nearly 5 years. I'm proud of my successful track record, which demonstrates I'm someone who can work collaboratively to build support for key priorities, but I'm also not afraid to ask tough questions and push for transparency and accountability for taxpayer dollars. I'm a member of 6 committees spanning public safety, community development, transportation policy, solid waste, Everett Arena, and Mayor Belay's Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, Justice, and Belonging Executive Committee. As an executive director for the last 15 years of a statewide nonprofit based in Concord, I have extensive experience building and managing budgets, staff, programs, and government and community relations. Outside of my professional and city council roles, I'm an active member of the Concord Showing Up for Racial Justice, or Concord Surge Committee, and a dance mom and official chauffeur for the Concord Multicultural Dance Group Barranquilla Flavor. I served as the treasurer of the Millbrook School PTA for 3 years and am currently a member of the Broken Ground PTA. I live in Concord Ward 10 with my husband of 16 years, Brian, and our 2 young children who attend Broken Ground School and Eastside Learning Center. I'm running to continue to make Concord the best place it can be to live, work, play, and raise a family. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll get started on our first question. We'll start with Keith and work our way down and loop back. So Keith, what do you think is the most pressing issue facing your ward and how would you address it?
I'm sorry, could you please say that a little bit louder?
What do you think is the most pressing issue facing your ward and how would you address it?
Thank you. I would say the most pressing issue in Ward 7 is the same issue that's pressing throughout the city, which is tax-based expansion, making sure the taxes remain low. I could certainly pay lip service to the concerns that the school board's dealing with building at Runlet or elsewhere. There's also some development taking place in Concord, and there's always a feeling of not in my backyard as it relates to housing. In this particular case, South End Rail Yard's being developed. That's not Ward 7, but it is Ward 6. And then there's a housing development going in off South Street. Those are always concerns. However, the pressing issue that I always hear from constituents about is tax-based expansion, and really what that is veiled as is, hey, why are my taxes going up? What are you doing to keep it low? That being said, I have many years of scrutinizing budget lines, reviewing capital projects, and really holding people accountable, including myself and other city councilors, for making responsible fiscal decisions. In an economy where we have seen unprecedented increases in resource costs, whether it be fuel or electricity, upwards of 10, 25, 50%, we've maintained budget expansion somewhere in the vicinity of 3 to 4%. That's not done with smoke and mirrors. That's done with hard, difficult financial decisions, with thoughtful discussion, and it's not easy. So, again, what's the primary issue? Keeping the taxes low so people can afford to live in our beautiful city. Thank you.
Yes, I've also heard in Ward 7 that the key issue is affordability, sort of the cost of living. Both renters, the rents are going up, and for homeowners, the property taxes are going up. So moderating those costs in any way we can is important, whether it's through, as you've provided leadership in the waste management, trying to get the best price for our waste. But housing is critical for the renters. insufficient supply raises costs, and so we need more housing of all kinds. And I think in Ward 7, it's a diversity of housing types, both some more dense areas and some more wide open areas. The new zoning will give more flexibility to homeowners and residents for the infill density, because infill will allow homeowners to add an accessory unit for their elderly parents, or to move into an accessory dwelling unit and give their home to their kids, so that they can moderate their costs. So I think housing is an important issue for the homeowners. I think economic development is important, and so thinking how we can increase the business activity, and the key thing I'm hearing from the business owners is that they need workforce housing. They can hire people, but the workers don't have a place to live. So I think in some ways housing is critical, both for business owners, economic development, and for homeowners and renters. It can really be an issue that unites everybody to help solve this together. Thank you.
Thank you. And through my canvassing, I have heard the same concern. People are asking about taxes, taxes, taxes. But in Ward 8, due to the size of the ward, people have been asking about homelessness too, because there is some camp in Ward 8 that we need also to talk about here. People are talking about roads, and people are talking about also their sewage, because Ward 8 has been left, and they are asking now, what am I going to do? And I said the first issue that is on my agenda is fiscal responsibility, because I think as a leader and as an administrator, it's always good to know where the money, and especially people money, where the money is going. So it's important when giving this responsibility to make sure that the taxpayer money is spent with priority and where it should be gone. When it comes to the housing, because when we talk about homelessness, we have to ask ourselves also a lot of issues, why people are homeless. Is it due to mental health? Is it due to the cost of living? Is it due to drugs or personal choices? So I have been saying to Ward 8 resident, this will be a priority of mine as well when elected. But the issues are not only in Ward 8, it's for the city in its entirety when it comes to housing, and what can we do to solve that issue, which maybe we'll get an opportunity to discuss further later. Thank you.
Well, taxes seem to be a common theme, and as a taxpayer that pays $8,400 a year, I feel that the tax base needs to be adjusted. Right now we're paying a tax rate of 0.28, and that rate needs to go down. If we want to develop this area, if we want to develop, I mean, Ward 9 is pretty dense, one of the densest wards in the city, we need to look at attracting a lower tax rate so that developers want to come in. If we get to the 1.9 rate, we're going to see more development because people are going to want to build. As for the problems of the ward, again, Ward 9 is fantastic. It is dense, we get along, we have apartments, we have single family homes, we've got new housing developments going up on Old Dump Road, 21 single family homes going up. Again, there is a diverse portfolio there. We got a new Texas Roadhouse going in, which is very exciting. And again, those are adding commercial to the commercial tax base. So how do you help the residents of Ward 9 who are paying like I am? Again, the renters are going to see an increase with the new trash deal. Again, how do you do it? You do commercial development, because people are paying enough for taxes, and the people that are paying the taxes are being taxed out of their homes. We have a very older median age of the city of Concord, and we need to help those residents that are on a fixed income.
I also agree that taxes are a really difficult problem because of inflation added to that, and a lot of folks in Ward 9 are renters or live in senior housing. It's more than half of our district, and many of those folks also work in the big box stores and in that area in general, or are retired. And so when rents go up and there's no place to move that's affordable, it has been a problem. And we shouldn't, for all our new developments and whatnot, I hope we don't see another situation where an out-of-town property manager comes in and, out of greed, basically ousts a bunch of folks who had hoped to retire at that facility. I think we also need to be creative when we look at the tax issue. We can look at things and work with the state to do this, to shift the tax burden more to those who can afford it. Because if you look at the overall tax system in general, at every level, it has time and again in just these last decades and given too many tax breaks to people who can afford a lot of things, and the rest of us have paid that price literally. I think we should look at things like a big box store tax, especially if they pay their workers poorly. That's not, they may be paying taxes to Concord, but what benefit is it to the community if your neighbors can't afford to eat, can't afford to work? We should value that. I still have like 20 more things I wanted to say. This goes so fast. I'll leave it at there for now, but I also will say I have a website, schultzforconcord.com, and I do go into a little more depth on more of the ideas that we should consider as we lower and change the way we focus our taxes.
Thank you. Before I started this campaign, I visited 3 people in East Concord on and off Shawmut Street. They probably had a combined time in East Concord probably of 200 years. So I value our senior citizens, and I'm a strong proponent of keeping them in their homes. And I also have heard 2 things as I see that are very important and pressing issues. One is I hear taxes all the time from many people, and then I think the way that we need to go about lessening that burden is through economic growth. Whether we've seen what's happened on Main Street, it comes down to quality of life. So if we want to maintain the services and our quality of life, we need economic growth. And there's a few areas in town where there's great opportunity. And you know what? That's what I do as the director of public works. Is I bring growth. I've been involved with tax increment finance districts. One that we started was under $100 million, and the assessed value in the district, and when we're done, it's going to be $250 million. So those are things that are going to alleviate taxes and help the quality of life for everybody in East Concord and Ward 10. Again, I support all sorts of. I've been involved in public-private partnerships, pilots, payment in lieu of taxes, all sorts of development opportunities. I will say, though, I believe economic growth must foster ideals that promote good and safe roads, clean water, provide good environmental stewardship, and recreational opportunities. I support economic growth that is thoughtful, well-planned, and with a purpose. I do not support economic growth for the sake of growth that may have a short-term gain and long-term negative consequences. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I mean, economic development and housing affordability are certainly 2 common concerns across the city. I've been proud to support efforts like public-private partnerships up at Merchants Way off of Exit 17 to expand our revenue base, bring in jobs, and also meet a community need. Before I lived in Concord Ward 10, I lived in Pinnacook, and the absence of a grocery store for both my current ward and that area of the city was definitely a gap we had. But I'll be honest that the 3 things I most often hear from constituents, and other councilors will laugh because I'm sure this is true for many of us: purple bags, leaf collection, and traffic. So on purple bags, we will probably talk about that shortly, but one of the things that we are doing as a city, and I've asked the Solid Waste Advisory Committee, which I sit on, to explore options for composting to help residents, not just composting, like educate people, but also to have a municipal program where we can be diverting some of our waste at a savings to taxpayers, our city, and the environment. On leaf collection, that's a big one, especially this time of year. We did move over the last couple of years to a different pickup system, which I think has been really beneficial, and I've heard really good feedback from Ward 10 residents that process is a little bit easier for them. And then traffic. So we have a lot of cut-through traffic, obviously, in Ward 10, coming down from tourism from the Lakes and Mountains region. We also have people cutting through East Side Drive either to get home or to go on those areas as well. And one of the things that is a concern for our area is, we are a little bit more of a rural area, but we also want other modes of transportation in our district. So sidewalks, walkable, cyclable cities, and those are the types of things that are harder to bring into a district like ours, but really are at the forefront of a lot of constituents. It addresses both the speeding and the accessibility around town.
Thank you. All right, Zandra, we're going to actually start with you on this question, and this is sort of a citywide question. It is kind of a Ward 3 question, but it also dovetails on one of the things that we're all just talking about. So given the tax burden, the concerns about the tax burden that you've all heard from your constituents and the financial needs of the city, where does a new golf course clubhouse fall on your list of priorities?
Yeah, this is an excellent question, and my take on the golf course in general has been that a community can decide for themselves what they want to prioritize. So if the Concord community decides that we want to move forward with a $4.5 million clubhouse, then that is a community decision to make. Things I have asked for in this process is more data about who are the users of the golf course. So I think it's really important for us to know, are these Concord residents, non-Concord residents? We don't charge a different rate. I've asked repeatedly for that information, and I've asked that the committee that works on the golf course and the clubhouse get that information for city councilors so we can make a clear decision about that. I did have a hard time last year when we were debating and slow walking whether or not to invest in a new ambulance unit and the staff for that. We had to move an ambulance from Manor Station, which I did not appreciate. It was impacted lots of wards in the district, including mine. And those are priorities that need to come first ahead of some of these other pieces. So it's not necessarily a question about whether or not to do that, but we need to have that kind of information, and we need to have a community conversation about if we're going to make an investment there, who uses it, what's it for, and I also would really like to see for the golf course in general, if we're going to be putting in a lot of taxpayer dollars, I'd like to see some skin in the game from those users. We ask parents to help fundraise for an accessible playground down at White Park. We ask the skate park community to help fundraise for a better skate park down by Everett Arena. So if we're going to do these things, then everybody has to have the same give and take. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Jeff, yes, please.
So the golf course, it's, we hear the word clubhouse, but really the golf course also accommodates other uses that is used widely by residents of the city, and it has been for a long time. I did visit the club. I have visited there, but I've also been to other cities and seen their golf in their facilities for educational components and weddings and things of that sort. So it's not just the clubhouse for those that golf. It's utilized for people that golf, yes. It can be also utilized for weddings and all sorts of conferences and different uses. And it's also widely used for those that like to cross-country ski in this community. So is it as high a priority as police, fire, and public works, which we all know is essential? No. But as this city becomes more dense, populated and more densely populated, people are going to need areas to recreate, and that facility is one of the centerpieces that we must support so that people can recreate, whether they're skiing, going to different events and golfing. So it's a very important part of our community, and it should be supported. Is it the #1 priority? No, but is it a priority to recreate? And I think most of us like to run, ski, walk, and I think that's an important asset to the community, and we should support improving it.
It would be a hypocrite if I didn't support the golf course to some degree because that was a part of my childhood, being the kid who drove the golf cart around as my dad and my brother were really into it, and I was totally bored, but it really was a big part of my family's life that we had access, even though we're working class, lower middle class family, that, you know, in no other way would my father's best friend have been a lawyer in that way. So it was a way, it can be done in a way to bring different classes together. The price tag sounds a little high. I'm sure that there are, as golf companies and whatnot have tried to attract young people to become golfers, and I know we have some programs there already, but to have an investment in that clubhouse as a public-private partnership would probably be better. You know, whether it's a golf company or the Common Man or, you know, some organization like that. I actually have attended a wedding at that clubhouse. I think that it has some possibilities there, though, you know, that we shouldn't look down upon, as long as we can make sure it continues to be accessible to all folks of all economic class, because, you know, otherwise, you know, maybe a kid would be great at golf or really enjoy it, but it's only the expensive country club. So I like the notion of that, having grown up on a golf course myself. And I think that there are some new environmental ways we can address some of the other concerns about water use and et cetera. I think there's some opportunities there, but public-private partnership, I think, is the best way to go with the clubhouse.
So I am in favor of redesigning and rebuilding the clubhouse. As I stated in the Patch interview, during COVID, there was over 1 million weddings in backlog. And as someone that plans political events, you look at the barn at Bull Meadow, and that's $7,500 to rent that one space. That doesn't include a caterer, doesn't include alcohol. It just includes the venue. The city has an opportunity here, if they design the space correctly, to have revenue brought in. And it's not just a summertime, fall space. Concord High Golf does golf there. I was a member of the Concord High Golf team, so that was our home course. But also Concord High Cross Country Skiing in the wintertime. That is their skiing area when White Farm is not available. So again, year-round use of not just outside, but inside. You got weddings, you got conferences. Being a part of Kiwanis Club, we host the Kiwanis Rotary dual meeting there every year. So again, there are many expanded uses that can be done as long as it's done correctly and that the tax base sees that this is development in that part of the city. In Ward 9, we're very privileged that we got the community center built. So what does the other side of the city have? So again, as for expanding and growing the city to say, look, this is a resource that your taxes are paying for, look what we're developing for you. So I'm in favor of expanding and redeveloping the clubhouse.
Thank you. I think this is an important question because we are all here running for city council and we all care about our city. But I will say priority matters, right? It's a question of mathematics here. What we are investing in that clubhouse, does it generate the revenue for the city, or we invest it just for recreational purposes with taxpayers? So as a city councilor, that will be always my priority. Is this just an investment for fun, where we have other priorities like homelessness, where we have other priorities like our children's schools, where we have priority as public safety, to invest that much money? Or when we invest that much money, it will generate income to keep the city running, because we are talking about not having housing, and the burden is on taxpayers. If that will generate some income to help taxpayers, I'm for. But if we are just investing money to have fun and to have, our city should move to that now and take priority. Let's invest in our city, in our police, in our fire department, in our education, and homelessness to take care of our people. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think the green space is a real treasure, the golf course, and the current facilities are aged and probably need to be refreshed. The exact scale and scope, I would defer to more community input and decision-making. If upgraded, it could be a source of revenue in terms of both event revenue, but also tourism. And I think the fact that if we can bring in more outside users, that would bring in more funding for that facility. So I think it needs upgrade of some sort. The exact scale and scope. Our green space is real treasure, and we should make sure that it doesn't decay. So I would support some kind of improvement, scale and scope to be decided. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Interesting question. Frankly, I'll be a little bit negative here, but I find anybody who wants to criticize the construction of the golf house to be a little bit naive and misinformed about the numbers and what the building means to the community. The golf course, and certainly the clubhouse, which is part of that golf course, is a city asset. Any asset that you don't invest in or maintain is going to depreciate, and that undermines the value of the property. We also need to look at what the clubhouse is going to be used for, which is in large part a community center. It also supports the activities, not just of those golfers who pay fees, which actually sustain the golf course operationally, but it also provides a warming center for individuals who are skiing or skating. It's a venue for different city events. So it's an asset. Anybody who wants to criticize investing in the clubhouse, they might as well criticize the investment of lights at Keach Park, investing in the hockey arena, or even investing in the community center across the street. So yes, absolutely, I support the investment in the clubhouse. It does need to be made sure as far as scope and scale, as Mr. Schlosser said, but really what it boils down to is the return on investment justifies its construction. Yes, I support it.
All right, we're going to start off now with a reader question. The question is, people often describe local elected positions as public service. If you do not win your race, in what ways will you continue to or start to publicly serve the community? Let's start with Keith.
I didn't hear the question. I apologize. It's very difficult.
This happened last night too. People often describe local elected positions as public service. If you don't win your race, in what ways will you continue or start to publicly serve the community?
No, it's in many ways a softball question for me. My entire career, and might even argue my life, has been in public service. Coming out of college, I enlisted in the United States Army, where I served for 5 years. Leaving the Army, I then entered into business, and shortly thereafter, I became an elected official, as I said, for 18 years. During that time period, for the last 16 years, I have served New Hampshire's residents as the insurance department, as the director of consumer services, doing financial exams. You'll be the first ones to know, as of today, I was appointed the deputy director of the insurance department. So my commitment to public service, thank you very much. My commitment to public service is ongoing. It's something I find great value in. And we can talk about civic responsibility and how we give back to the community, but there really is no greater feeling than giving back to our friends and neighbors and those we live among. So absolutely, I will continue to stay involved.
So if I don't get elected, I will continue to be the person I am, a man of service. I've worked for 40 years in healthcare, in public hospitals, serving the poor and underserved. I served 19 years in the Veterans Administration, serving those who served us in our country. So the public sector contribution is who I've been in my career, and it's really bringing strong management methods to those systems, to public hospitals and the Veterans Administration, innovation, systems improvement, using data, collaborating, building collaboration across sectors. That's my approach to service, and it will continue. I currently serve in the community at the Concord Coalition to End Homelessness with my faith community in the Sycamore Community Garden. Those things will continue regardless, and I think that's who I am, and so it will continue. Thank you.
So public service is what I know, and for me, it's a must, because I think our community need that. what I do here, raising two beautiful kids in this community, it's a requirement. So whatever the outcome is, I will continue to serve because that's what I know. I'm the president of the Islamic Society of Greater Concord, which I take very dearly to my heart. I'm a man of faith that believe in service. I'm on the ORIS, the Board of Organization for Refugees and Immigrant Successes. I travel throughout the state of New Hampshire to talk about everything. I talked at the legislative breakfast at NHTI. I spoke at the library in Manchester about the importance of libraries. I spoke at the community school in Sandwich, New Hampshire that is not there anymore, Plymouth State, and many other places. So for me, I think it's a responsibility that I don't take lightly. I am on NIME, the National Alliance of Mental Health Illnesses, on their diversity panel. I was a panelist recently to discuss about mental health. So I think, as I said, I'm just taking my public service to the next level because it's important that the city have the representation at the table, but also it's important that people that care, that will bring different perspective, idea and ideologies and experiences at the table to continue the successes that Concord has been making as a success. Thank you.
So I've run for public office in the state level, state representative. I've lost 4 times, and I keep coming back. I'm not going to leave this city. I'm going to raise my family here, and I'm going to continue to be involved. What does that mean, be involved? Well, I look in the audience, I see Byron Champlin, who has seen me at the Concord Christmas Parade as the banner holder for the Concord Kiwanis since 2014. It's cold. You got to march. But you know what? I show up. Every Friday night at Immaculate Heart of Mary Church, the 5 and 2 ministry, I unload bread that is distributed to 24 different food pantries. We do it in the summer. We do it in the winter. You just show up. You give back to your community. I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm not going to disappear. I'm going to keep showing up and volunteering for my community. It isn't just saying it and not really doing it. I was the governor of Key Club when I was here at Concord High School, and that was 6 states in Bermuda, where I was legislating guests over during that time period, where community service is pretty much in my blood, giving back to the community. One can say it, but I show up and I do it.
This is an awkward question for me because I feel like my whole life I've been called to be of service to whatever degree that I can, and it's just shifted and changed so many times. I mean, I became politically aware as a 10-year-old in 1980 when the Reagan era and the Cold War was so heavy, and I went to Catholic school, and the nuns taught us about nuclear disarmament. And from that moment on, I started reading the paper. Yes, I'm that weird kid. And really cared deeply about what our shared government, that it's by for all of us, that it can do great things, it can do mediocre things, and it can also do some awful things. And I thought, well, I would like to play my tiny role. And yeah, I mean, I've gone to some interesting places and worked with a lot of cool people. I worked for Barack Obama, and I worked for John Kerry, Al Gore, Bill Clinton. I've worked on governors, congressional races. I also worked on Capitol Hill. But I also have done service work with Habitat for Humanity, and in a similar way he's talking about, I have over the years on and off through either interfaith groups or with this Catholic Church also volunteered for a number of different things. I'm sure that's the same reason why you're all here too, is there to be involved in the community when so much is at stake. When I see so many people suffering, they don't have enough food or proper housing or all those things, I think that when we work together, we can provide better opportunities, both at the public-private level, at the nonprofit level, and just even in individual kind ways with our neighbors. I really just feel, not that I'm perfect at it, I really feel deeply that the notion of loving your neighbor is important. And that is the number one thing. And I'm married to an atheist. That is also his value. You don't even have to have a religion to look for compassion and empathy and kindness, to discern the right ways to contribute, and it's sometimes to receive help too if you needed to. So, tough question for me, but also a lovely question.
So what will I do? I think I'm going to continue doing the same things I do now in my personal and professional life. I'm a strong proponent of green initiatives. I believe strongly in clean air and clean water. In my position in Bedford, I created the compost committee and recycling committee, so I know Concord's just getting there, but these are things that I've done and will continue to do and I believe in. I also believe in, some of the green energy. I've had solar panels on my barn for years, and as part of my professional life, I initiated and was instrumental in bringing solar power to Bedford's Cap landfill, which it will provide enough electricity to offset all municipal uses at the fields, every use we have for electrical consumption will be covered, will be net zeroed by this effort. So I believe strongly in the environment, and I also, a couple of little side things that most people probably don't do and they should. I'm a regular volunteer at the American Red Cross. I donate platelets, plasma, and blood, as does my family, and that's who we are, and that's what I'm about, and thank you.
The good and bad news, if you are somebody who cares about your community, is there's always something else to do and always another need to be met. So whether or not I serve on city council, that is just being a part of being a good community member, helping where help is needed, and building community. A lot of my activities over the years have really focused on that, trying to be a volunteer behind the scenes when needed, stepping forward when there's a gap and leadership is needed. Mr. Foote mentioned going to the principal's office as a high school student. I went there as an elementary student, but for organizing fellow students to better our playground equipment as a sixth grader. So that is just kind of who I am and how I grew up. My mom had me on the phones at 10, 11 years old, calling other community members to help pass our school bond and levy. So I got some good training early on from the best of them, and will continue to be a part of my community and step into the roles that are needed.
Thank you. We are getting close to time, but we'll try and squeeze in one question before closing statements. Many of the candidates have talked about the need for transparency. So the question here is, what do you think in what ways do you think the city can become more transparent with its citizens? And please be specific. Jim, why don't we start with you?
Sure. So being transparent means communicating, and I think our website needs to be upgraded to help share city information more effectively with our citizens. And communication is a two-way street, both listening and hearing from citizens and sharing with them information. We can do a much better job of involving them, informing them about what's going on, getting their input through the website, through forums. That really is going to help citizen engagement and open up the information, the transparency in our community.
Transparency, as you said, we have been talking all night and throughout our campaign about fiscal responsibility. We are taking, or we are giving the opportunity to run taxpayers' money. So transparency is really making sure that where their money is going is what they are paying for, which is the services that they are paying for. First, take care of what is needed as a priority, and as Jim said, open communication, not closed-door communication, where everybody and every voice can be heard. because I think it's all of us responsibility to make sure that the money of the taxpayer money is spent fairly and consistently throughout the time that we are holding a public office. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're going to be managing a budget. That's other people's money. So when that budget comes out and somebody asks a question about a line item, we got to have an answer. If we don't have an answer, we look like we don't care about the people's money that we're taxing them for. So having an answer and being, as I said, transparent and explaining to people where this money is going, why it's going there, what the return on investment is, will make people feel like, okay, if I'm paying this level of tax, I'm getting X, Y, and Z for that tax. Again, being clear, being more transparent into what we're doing with other people's money. Because again, I'm paying taxes, but I know I'm needing to pay for fire. I know I need to pay for the police. I know I need to pay to help shore up the city hall because the third floor can't support certain weights. So those are the things that are going to be seen by people, and if they see it and be open about it, then people will understand.
I'd like to come at this difficult one from two angles, and that is, I don't have any reason to speak ill of our police force or our police chief and how they investigate and serve and provide safety for our community. They put their lives on the line for us, and for that I'm grateful. In two instances, and possibly others, we have a real lack of information. And I have been at meetings where, or in the community, and received calls as a state rep about both of these. The first is when the lovely couple at Alton Woods was murdered near the trails. I understand, as I was told, that to some degree our police chief was hamstrung by the way the investigation happened. Having lived in other cities, there are ways to address and I don't know if assuage is the right way. We don't want to be assuaged. We needed to hear confidently that Concord would be safe, that all the investigation is moving forward, just the basics. And I don't think we heard anything because the fear of overstepping FBI bounds or Attorney General bounds. And the police chief here should answer to Concord. I see your card, but there's another really important one I need to talk about, and that's the instance of the Nazis being outside of the teetotaler twice now. Horrific. There was a private meeting pulled together by some interfaith leaders, mainly at the behest of the rabbi of the local temple, who is a friend. And some community leaders were there, some police force folks, certainly the police chief, FBI, Attorney General, and there was a fourth entity, state U.S. attorney too. And the police chief said he had received over 32 letters that folks were upset with how the Nazis were handled at the teetotaler. And there were definitely pieces of information that were coming out at this private meeting that did not, that he was unaware of. But he still, while talking about these letters and listening to mainly the Jewish community talk with real fear of there are literal Nazis in our town, and of course the Jewish community will be worried about it, and now it must be more difficult for them with all that's happening internationally. And that we still haven't heard anything from our police chief on this to feel safe, to reassure our business owners, to do whatever we need to do to provide the area for them to protest because of their free speech rights. But there were some instances that I thought were concerning, and I do suspect they'll come back again because, drag queens are going to read to kids again, I really just feel that we need to hear confidently that our police chief and our law enforcement officers will be there in these scary situations and be an ally, even if they can't change some of the things happening, just to prevent anything bad from happening and to communicate with us heart to heart, and that doesn't hurt any investigation, and especially answer those 32 letters. Mr. Chief. They deserve an answer. And I do appreciate the work that you do and respect that you put your lives on the line. Thank you.
So I'll stay on the same train as far as communication. I think it's critical that good government is very transparent. I'm an open book in my position as the Director of Public Works in Bedford. People see my budget. I think we want to talk about property taxes, which is the most common concern. I agree, transparency, communication is critical, and I think the city does a reasonably good job with their budget, and if you drill down and go on the website, I think you can find the information you're looking for where expenses and revenue are located. I know you're not in my ward, but
That's okay.
I do work with the police and fire every day of my life, and there's some times when there are certain events that occur that they can't communicate with us, and unless they're sending you a nixle to lock your doors, I think we can all feel safe in this city as a result of our first responders. So they do communicate when they need to, and they're always here when we need them. So I get it. I understand what you're saying, but I think they do a fantastic job.
Thank you. Thank you. Zandra?
Thank you.
Again, if you could be specific and brief, we're running out of time.
Yes,
Thank you.
certainly. So I have 3 things I'll bring up in this area. One is that we do have all of our information on the city website, and particularly the city council votes, but there is a difference between having something accessible and having it easily understood by the public. So I think doing more to have consumer-friendly materials where members of the community can actually understand the legislative jargon that we use at city council and what actually happened on a vote would be important. The second thing is we had a discussion several times at City Council about boards and committees and openings for those. There is no consolidated place where you can see when terms end, apply online, have a universal application form. So Ward 5 City Councilor Stacey Brown and I have actually created that on our own. We've gone around to community meetings and civic events with a binder about the different committees and how to sign up and who to contact and what the requirements are, and have put together an online application so people can notify us if they're interested or get more information. But I think those are the types of things that we should be doing from the city side. And the third is, and this is a little, not many people would be familiar with this, but we have something called suspense items. And suspense items can be added at the last minute at City Council. So sometimes even councilors do not have a heads up or advance notice about those. That's always been a concern to me. Every now and again there's a time where you need to do that, but I think as a rule that both councilors and community members should have information in advance, and we shouldn't be making big decisions or having those discussions without having the proper notice. So I would encourage us in the next City Council to look at that and potentially eliminate it. I do want to co-sign much of what Ward 9 candidate Chris Schultz said about feeling safe. It's great if folks like Mr. Foote and I feel safe in our community, but frankly, we weren't the ones who were targeted at those incidences at Teetotaler. The anti-Semitic, racist, and anti-LGBTQ actions that have taken place and the neo-Nazis marching down the street do deserve a full force, full throttle response from the City Council and our leadership. And if we don't have the avenues to do that currently, we need to create those. And I certainly have advocated for that and will continue to do so. Thank you.
All right, short and sweet. Short and sweet, thank you very much. There are a multitude of state laws and regulations which govern how, in this case, the municipality must handle information transparency. The city complies with every single one of those laws and rules. Typically, when a constituent contacts me and is concerned about a particular issue or not being able to find something or has an inquiry about something that he or she's not aware of, it typically relates to a personnel matter, which is never going to be public information, or a private contract. That being said, there's information in this world that we'd all like to have. I would like to have the Colonel's recipe for chicken, but they won't give it to me. Moving on from beyond that, I think Mr. Schlosser has it right. Transparency is about communication. our website, and Zandra, you're right too, our website can be improved. Sometimes navigating it can be difficult. Most of the information that people are looking for, whether it be budget-related, meeting minutes, can be found on the city's website. If they can't find it, it's available in hard copy at the library, and if not, come speak to the city clerk. She'd be happy to help you out. Thank you.
All right, we're gonna start our closing remarks. So we're gonna start with Andrew, and you guys have about 1 minute. So go ahead.
Right on the spot. So, again, my name is Andrew Georgievitz, lifelong resident of Concord. I'm here to run for City Council Ward 9 because the city can do better. It's your money that you're paying in taxes. It's too much money that you're paying in taxes for not enough services. We've got a lot of infrastructure problems in the city. We've got police and fire that are understaffed. These are large problems. We have a homeless problem here in the city. Again, we can talk about it till we're blue in the face, but again, I'm involved with construction. There are 3 current housing developments going on right now. That's going to get us towards that 3,000 goal to get us to net zero, but we need to keep building. We need to build higher. We need to build taller houses and taller buildings. Again, when people are coming through Concord, you look at the backside of Store Street, and it's not going to make anybody stop. You talk about tourism in our city. We've got a Capitol building, a beautiful Capitol building. But again, why would you stop in Concord? These are things that need to be worked on by the City Council this coming year, because if we're going to see a growth in the tax base, we need to see commercial development. I'm someone that is in construction, has my family here. I'm going to stay here in this city. I'm going to keep volunteering in this city because I love this city. And that's why I want to continue to help and serve as a city councilor. Thank you.
It has been the honor of my lifetime to serve as state representative for Ward 9 and now also for Wards 4 and 10. It would be also very much an honor to serve on the City Council. My predecessor as a state rep, Candace Bouchard, holds the seat currently. She's been amazing until even as I'm driving to file to run for this seat, I'm like, are you sure you don't want to do this? Because I will miss her in this role, but she will continue to be on top of these issues and be a mentor. I also want to say that I really appreciate Byron Champlin running. I think he's been a great person at the city, and I do believe he'll be the next mayor. And if I win, I look forward to working with him and have his mentorship. And then the harder one, and that's my good friend who passed away last year of cancer. Some of you knew her pretty well, and that's Kathy Rogers, who served this area in so many places, county commissioner, county attorney, state rep, city council. I think she'd be really proud of me for stepping up in this. And she would remind me that this is not about me, it's about the values that we share with those we represent, and that doing so, it's a conversation, and that conversation is mostly about having 2 ears and only 1 mouth. Keep the ears open. And again, I'll reiterate, I genuinely believe in the love your neighbor spirit. All of my neighbors, even the MAGA hat wearing neighbors, people maybe we disagree with. And there's a lot more on my website, schultzforconcord.com. Thank you.
Yeah, well put with regarding Byron and Candace, 2 great public servants, and we should be proud of her service. She's been here a long time and has done a great job for this community. I guess in closing, for me, we hear a lot about I'm for this, I do, that type of talk, but I have a record of accomplishment. I don't just have a record, I have a record of accomplishment as a professional and then also as a volunteer. I'm pragmatic, I'm a problem solver, and I always approach everything I do with clean hands. My agenda is your agenda. If elected, I will work to advance Concord and make it a better place to live, work, and recreate. Please visit my website at footforcitycouncil.com. I ask for your vote on Tuesday, November 7th at Broken Ground School. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, my name is Zandra Rice Hawkins. I'm the current city councilor for Ward 10, serving my 3rd term. I'm running because Concord is the community my husband and I chose to buy our first home and raise our family. I want Concord to be the best it can be, the very best place it can be to raise a family, live, work, and play. I believe every community member should be able to have the same sense of belonging that my own family enjoys and the ability to impact the decisions that shape their lives. And this is how I approach my work on City Council and my work with constituents. I supported efforts by the City Council to encourage economic development, to expand our revenue base and bring in jobs, invest in local neighborhood initiatives, and work towards the goal of transitioning the city to 100% clean and renewable energy. My vote record shows where my priorities are, and my work in the community and my presence at all of those gatherings and meetings, neighborhood conversations, and street corner meetups shows that I have the dedication to continue to serve Ward 10 well. More information can be found at votezandra.com, including my full list of endorsements and all of the other information you might need to know, or you can call or text me at 603-892-2150. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Again, my name is Keith Nyan. There's quite a few issues this evening that we didn't have a chance to talk about. Three in particular that I'm just going to give quick notice to. Economic development, the housing situation, as well as the homeless issue. All three of those go together. Housing, building housing, the byproduct of housing does drive economic development. Obviously, we need more housing of all flavors, whether it be market rate, workforce housing, low-income housing. We need housing. Nobody's going to dispute that. Relative to the homeless issue, absolutely, it's imperative that we as elected officials do everything we can to help those individuals who need help and who want help. We have great organizations to do that, whether it be the police department and the outreach activities they've performed. We have the Human Resources Department, Human Services Division at the city. We also have organizations such as Concord's Coalition and Homelessness. We can help. We want to help. However, let's make it perfectly clear. I will do everything within the limits of my position to identify, prevent, and eliminate homeless encampments from our neighborhoods that cause great anxiety in Ward 7. And again, I remain committed to taking care of those. Relative to why I am running for office, again, I'm an 18-year veteran of the council, and this particular election isn't about just wanting to help people. As a matter of fact, over the last couple of weeks, I've got to know Mr. Schlosser quite well. I take that back, not quite well, but I believe him to be a man of integrity, a man who wants to help, and I think we need people like him in our community. He actually is what makes our community better, more livable. Really, for me, what this next election is about is a little bit of continuity. There's going to be great turnover. We need to continue to do those things that we've done well. We need to be, fiscally vigilant. These are things that, frankly, I believe Mr. Schloss will tell you he's had experience doing. I believe him. But in this particular case, on the council, I've actually done it, and I've done it for 18 years, and I've done it well. I ask for your vote. I'm really the best choice for Ward 7, and I look forward to seeing you at the polls on November 7th. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. I actually agree with you that we would be remiss to leave this forum without talking about housing and homelessness. Homelessness is solvable. We've learned that from communities across the country. We need to set a goal of functional zero homelessness. It's not that homelessness never occurs, but that it's rare and brief. And we get there by having the social service and nonprofits working together effectively with city leadership. City leaders need to take action, not just write a plan in 2012 and monitor it, but really take concerted action to take the system changes that will solve this. And as you said, housing is critical. We need all kinds of housing. Affordable housing, yes. We need market rate, single family, senior housing. Housing is a critical piece. So let's get that done. Let's not wait another 10 years to solve homelessness. I think we can do that. Continuing to grow this wonderful city of Concord will take collaboration and consensus building. The path forward needs to be grounded in the needs and values of all. And by all, I mean everyone. residents, homeowners, the business and nonprofit community, city workers, everybody, all. Effective communication about city issues allows everyone to be informed and participate meaningfully in decisions that matter to them. I commit to listening to and communicating effectively with Ward 7 residents. This will ensure their needs and values are represented in council decisions. For me, leadership is speaking up and standing up for what matters, for me, our families, and future generations. As I said, I spent almost 20 years delivering and improving care for veterans. This past year, I donated a kidney to my brother. My neighbor had cancer surgery, so I mowed his lawn. This life of service and leadership is who I am. This is what I have to offer to Ward 7. Our community is rich in resources and human ingenuity. We can be a model city for sustainability, compassion, equity, and prosperity. I look forward to working with you in whatever capacity to consciously evolve a city that works for all of us. Thank you.
Wow. My name is Ali Sekou, and I'm a candidate for Ward 8. I'm honored to say that I got the endorsement of Kel Madsen, who has been serving us for a decade. Such an honor to see what she has done for Ward 8, but also to listen and learn from her what do we need to continue the great work that the City Council has been doing. I worked hard to learn English, and I worked hard to emerge in this community by being involved. And I will continue to be involved by bringing everyone together like I have always have done it at the mosque, where I invited the mayor, Byron Champlain, Candace, and many other community leaders to discuss the issues facing our community, but also to cultivate the relationship needed to work together. As Jim said, consensus building is important. Not only I work hard to learn English, but I work hard to also earn a degree. I have an associate degree from NHTI, New Hampshire Technical Institute, a bachelor degree from Plymouth State University in tourism management and political science, and a master's degree from UNH, University of New Hampshire, in community development. I bring the same energy to the City Council to continue the great work the city has been doing. I sit on many boards. I will name few. I'm part of the New Hampshire Advisory Council, the Community Loan Fund. I'm a board of trustees for the Concord Library. I sit on the foundation of the Concord Library. I'm the treasurer of ORIS, Organization for Refugees and Immigrant Successes. And I will bring years of leadership, national and international and national, to the City Council, and a diverse idea, experience, and expertise to keep our DEI work to live and to keep doing what just Jim said, working for all, working for everybody in the city. On my agenda, I have fiscal responsibility, public safety, housing and homelessness. Public safety, mental health, especially because I am part of NIME DEI. Diversity and inclusion is personal to me. I'm raising my two beautiful children in this city that I chose to be my home. I heard a lot, I will be here, and I will be here, I will not go anywhere. We are going to be here, and this is where we choose to raise our children. Concord has given us a lot. We have given Concord a lot, but we have more to give, and we promise to give it. Thank you. I'll be honored to have your vote on November 7th, and you can count on me for what I listed, the dedication that I have brought to continue that dedication to the City Council and the same energy. Thank you all for being here today, and I'm looking forward to working with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. And that concludes our forum. Thank you again to all the candidates, everyone in the audience, and all of our viewers. And Election Day is Tuesday, November 7th. Thank you again. Good night.